Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me, as always, is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Hello, I'm here, and this is interesting because this is going to be the last episode we record for a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
And the last one you're going to hear, that's fresh and new, and a normal episode, I think, for a week, maybe? We're still figuring that out, but by the time you hear this, we'll probably have figured it out. So, anyway.
Kyle has figured out the combination lock on his shackles and is going on vacation.
I'm leaving. I'm going away for a week. So I leave things in your hands, Ian. Don't screw it up.
Which is to say, he has pre-made as much material as possible so I don't burn this down while he's gone.
That'll be fine. It'll be fine. You don't need me. Finally, finally the BumbleKast is over. Now we're free. No, nope. You're not free yet. Sonic is still around.
And you're not free either because we got an episode to do.
Yeah.
This is a standard Q&A. Where do these questions come from, sir?
These all come from our email, which is contact@bumblecast.com. So you can send your emails over to there. You should do that. All right, we're going to get started off with one from Razor. What if Emerald makes a link with Goku or Vegeta? Will he eventually grow strong enough to reach their level? Could he learn Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego? How useful would he be in the Sonic world after having learned everything he could from them? Starting off already with the Dragon Ball Z power level question.
I was kind of debating on whether he could match their level, but Emerald can emulate everybody else's abilities to a comparable degree, and they have some incredible feats, let's be honest. And he was powerful enough. And he is powerful enough by the end of the game to be an immediate threat to the entire planet. So, yeah, conceivably he could emulate Goku and or Vegeta to their level, which is absolutely terrifying. I don't know if he could do Ultra Instinct / Ultra Ego, because from my understanding, that's more of a state of mind, a state of being. It's not really like an actual power level to achieve like the Super Saiyan or the God forms. I could be wrong. Like, if there's a specification on that, please correct me in the comments below. But I think it's supposed to be more of a state of mental being. But Emerald's attitude and personality are formed off of those that he makes a bond with. So if he is basically emulating either of them, who's to say he can't also emulate their state of mind? So maybe. I mean, if he goes off to train on Dragon Ball Earth, achieves either of those and comes back, there's literally nothing that could stop him.
No.
Eggman would launch the latest incarnation of the Egg Fleet and boop, it's done.
Yeah, it's gone.
Sonic would be bored. He's got nothing to do but to like travel. Threats would be ended before he was aware of them.
Maybe this is how we end up getting the Boom universe. This is the inception of it, you know. Everything just kind of gets taken care of by Ultra Instinct Emerald, and then, yeah, now it's just boom. We got a question from Supersonic God. What if Sonic and Shadow learn the fusion dance? What would be the fusion's name? And would Shadow accept to fuse with Sonic? Will Eggman lose all chance of him to win against the fusion?
All right, so if we're going by fusion dance rules, and no, Shadow would definitely not want to do it. It would have to be something cataclysmic going on that he would deign to do this.
Yeah.
And it would be hilarious to see the skinny and fat versions of this, because, I mean, if we're going to do it, we're going to go the whole 9 yards. Anyway, by fusion rules, their name should be Sanado, in the same vein that we get Gogeta, you know, protagonist and rival / antagonist. I don't know how you want to define Vegeta at this point. Now, if they were to get their hands on the Porta earrings and fuse that way, then we would get Shanik, because we get Vegito that way.
Mm-hmm. Sonato confirmed.
They are inseparable, so to speak.
I mean,
at least for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Finally,
then we would get...
guess.
And the fusion seems to combine the powers in a additive sense. It doesn't even out. So we would basically be getting double speed, plus all of Shadow's movesets, plus all of Sonic's like bottomless ability to adapt skills. They would be an absolute nightmare for Eggman. This would be an end-all be-all for him, and it would be great, especially when, you know, the sequel movie comes out and Eggman tries to make Metal Sonato.
That would be kind of cool, actually. But what would their personality be like? I mean,
Sonato would take a little bit of the lead with the Sonic side of things. So it'd still be that kind of arrogance, that kind of cockiness, the playfulness, but it would have a little bit of an edge. Like, he's going to hurt you, and he's going to kind of like it. Whereas Shannick would be more reserved, a little more focused, but after he stomps you into the dirt, he's going to get a one-liner in there as well. He's going to add the insult to injury.
Oh, of course. All right, and here's a question from Canon. Did you know that Akira Toriyama drew Sonic in the brief return of Dr. Slump? And in the chapter before the one Sonic appeared, Goku was there? Is this foreshadowing a crossover between Sonic and Dragon Ball? Please say yes.
That would be fun. There's nothing in the works that I'm aware of, but that would be fun.
Here's a question from Callum Q. In an earlier BumbleKast, you said that Neo Metal reverted from his super state because he wasn't able to maintain the form. My question is, it looks like Shadow's Chaos Spear interrupts his form. He didn't revert until he was struck by the spear. Am I just reading too much into the art, or did the Chaos Spear cause some kind of interference?
You dare question me on my own show? Yeah, you're right. Yep. I went back and reread it, and I was wrong. I remembered it incorrectly. You're absolutely right.
Someone's going to cut that initial part out of context, and
yeah.
And you know what'll happen.
Give him something to do. Keep them off the troubled streets. That's what we do here on the BumbleKast.
Yes. We give you something to pay attention to that's not important. So there you go. We give you a hobby. You're welcome. If you want Ian Flynn to live rent-free in your head, go right ahead. That's fine. Here's a question from Certified Nobody. Although I personally don't care if the Freedom Fighters returned, do you think Sega would be more accepting of it if they were temporarily brought in from another zone? If Sega doesn't want them in because they aren't part of the game universe, then maybe that could be used by actually making them from another universe.
That's a possible avenue. Just a quick aside, Zone in terms of multiverse is an Archie thing. That's not really a mainline Sonic thing. Zones are just a game element named for a stage, and I think it's mostly relegated to classic Sonic at this point. Just being super nerdy on the topic. That's certainly a way to do it. I don't know if it's worth adding an entire multiverse to resurrect him, or if they would want to do that, but I don't know. We'll see.
Alrighty. Here's a question from Big Sonic fan Patrick. One of the creepy parts I noticed in the volcano section of Sonic's story was the presence of these chained ghost-like creatures kept in cells. Regardless of what I did, these ghost-like beings were trapped inside of the volcano as magma levels would rise. Do you know what the ghost-like entities were from Red Mountain in Sonic Adventure?
It gets even creepier because you can find old-school electric chairs in the rocks and the rubble.
There's some weird stuff in there, yeah. Yeah.
And I think if you can get close enough to, you see that they aren't even like a solid thing. They're just like bandages wrapped around a vaguely humanoid shape, but there's empty space in there, which could be, an attempt to keep low polygon levels for a minimal background asset, or it could be part of the spooky. I don't know. I've never gotten a clear explanation on that. I think it's just meant to be quirky and spooky and weird.
We're like, here, this looks cool. Let's do this. Sometimes that's about as much thought as gets put into certain things, you know? They didn't really consider the ramifications, but maybe they did.
Like, the background assets in Adventure are kind of staggering, especially if you look at the egg carrier.
Right.
Like, there's an E100 styled maid robot that you can miss that has, individual cleaning animations and hilariously is falling out of the airlocks when the ship is going off kilter because Knuckles is trying to find the Master Emerald Shard. But like, it's an asset you wouldn't even notice, but it's there and it's very lovingly rendered. Like, there's that entire hallway that Big gets to find if you decide to explore it all. It's just, there's a lot of stuff in that game.
Yeah. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and then everybody just ran past it all. Poor Sega. Poor Sonic Team. Here's a question from Burb. Your thoughts on Doctor Who and Quantum Leap, or have you watched them?
I know we've covered Doctor Who in the past, because I've told my Eccleston story at least twice.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure we did it on the show, and it wasn't just at conventions. Or, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. 99% sure. As sure as I was about the Neo Metal Sonic Super thing. Mm-hmm. Quantum Leap, I do remember I used to watch it a bunch as a kid, and I don't remember a ton about it, but it was a really cool premise.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, it was very well produced and put together.
They both have fantastic theme songs, I'll tell you that much.
I don't know if the new show has started yet.
I think so.
Okay. I haven't seen it at all, but, the list of things I haven't seen yet is constantly growing. But it sounds like it's a actual, like, sequel series or, like, a spiritual successor. So that's an interesting take on it, rather than... I mean, the premise itself is evergreen. You could have just done, okay, here's new Quantum Leap with a new cast, but the same idea. But the idea that they seem to be following up on it is neat. So, more power to them if they can make a solid show out of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing articles from one day ago that are they don't seem pretty positive on it. So, that's a shame.
Grain of salt, because
there are 2 episodes
disappointed
to be fair.
Yeah. Being disappointed with something on the internet is how you make the big bucks.
I know. We should do that more often on this show.
No, I would rather us languish in obscurity than go in for the clickbaity stuff.
Yeah, well, we're doing this show, and at this time of recording, we're just about ready to pass 4,000 subscribers. So, yeah, languishing in obscurity is our middle day. No. 4,000 is awesome. All right, we got a question here from Bubble Revolution. Whenever the Deadly Six end up appearing in the IDW comics again, would you considering developing their roles on the team a bit more? They all do have specified jobs. Zaz is the special ops combatant, Zamam is the saboteur, Xena is the info manager, and Zor is the spy. But the only mention of these is in the video descriptions on the Japanese YouTube channel. It'd be nice to see a more in-depth look at that, since the lore is there, even though it's not really utilized. For example, Xena is mentioned as being a regimented office lady, but it's only ever acknowledged briefly in-game in the Japanese version. I'd love to see more of them working as a team and how their personalities play off of each other.
See, this is fascinating, because I didn't know any of that. And when writing Zeddy Hunt, even a little bit before that in Metal Virus, the notes were specifically is that they aren't a team, that they aren't organized at all. They're just kind of there as a general group that doesn't particularly like each other and just follows Zamam because he's the biggest and strongest and they're afraid of him.
Oh, Team Dark, huh?
There is... I mean, there is a dynamic between Zavok and Zeke where Zeke is, the master and Zavok is the ascended apprentice. He is leader now, but he still has reverence for his former master. But beyond that, there isn't supposed to be any kind of camaraderie or organization between them. And the note I got specifically said, if they were separated, they would most likely just go off on their own. So that is directly at odds with this material that you presented me with. So maybe that's what they initially intended, and have since decided to go in a different direction. I don't know.
Well, at this point, I'm thinking teams in Sonic are kind of like capes in The Incredibles. No teams. No teams.
Also, I take it with a grain of salt because Zaz is characterized, at least as far as I'm aware, as this kind of idiot berserker. Can't really see him being a special ops combatant. And Zamam is an idiot. How is he a saboteur?
Well, accidentally. He just walks in.
I'm not calling you into doubt, Bubble Revolution. I'm not questioning you. I am questioning the implementation. You, I'm taking at face value. So thank you for the information. The rest of it, I'm kind of like, you say one thing, but what do you do with it? You know?
I'm being told that we still have Team Chaotix. No, we don't. We have the
Yes,
Chaotix. Thank you very much. They are the Chaotix. They are not Team Chaotix.
They have a theme song. They're Team Chaotix.
Team Chaotix is their theme song, but
they're
they are
detectives
just
you want on your
the
side.
Chaotix.
Team Chaotix.
No.
They're directives tracking down your crime.
Yeah, well, no, the Chaotix aren't a team. It's just two dads with their son, all right? That's what they really are. All right, we got one here from Gino ZP232. Considering how many times Sonic has been adapted to different mediums and interpreted by different people, how many versions now have different beloved characters and alternate versions of the same characters? If you were able to legally do a Sonic to Sonic crossover through two different series, what versions would you use to make an interesting story setup for a comic? All assets available.
I feel like we've kind of touched on this, but it's always been within the context of you have to merge specific Sonics. So just for interest, it might be kind of neat to see Boom and Movie Sonic paired up. Because where Boom Sonic is a little more, I guess, self-assured. Not saying Movie Sonic isn't, but Movie Sonic is still very young and growing and has moments of self-doubt and self-reflection. Boom Sonic does not. Boom Sonic is going to be the one to suggest, hey, let's do the thing. But Boom Sonic also doesn't have a ton of forethought, and he's way more casual about things, whereas Movie Sonic is more driven and wants to be heroic and proactive. So I could see those two different types of Sonic not quite meshing, but in interesting ways, and bringing out both the best and the worst in each incarnation.
I'm just thinking of Stone at Medburger.
Excuse me, the doctor asked for no pickles.
Oh. Oh, I was just thinking he would be like, take over the joint and turn it into a well-oiled machine of coffee.
Well, he would have to pry that spatula out of Dave's cold, dead hands.
Well, if Jim...
I'm just 135 hours away from becoming regional manager. You're not taking this away from me.
Well, if Jim Botnick is there, Dave is probably dead, so...
Jim Botnick would recruit him.
Oh.
When was the last time you cleaned those air fryers? I have documented proof, but documents can be forged. Oh, I like you.
God, your Jim.
Tell me, Dave, how do you do lattes?
Your Jim Botnick impression is freaky, and then because it's
wildly inaccurate as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is, but it also kind of isn't. Like, you totally get the Jim Carrey feel across. So, I don't know.
As long as you get the reference.
Yes. Here's a question from Tony C. Are the staff at Sega aware of the reception the Deadly Six and Zavok have? Do they know that fans are not keen on them? Are they aware that some fans feel Infinite and Cream should have been in Team Sonic Racing rather than Zavok and Omo Chow?
Kind of need to add this to the FAQ. I am not going to speak for Sega as an entire corporate entity. I am one person and I have some interactions, but I am not going to speak for the collective corporate understanding of anything. I do know that the social media team is very much engaged with the fandom, and thus they have heard lots of opinions, but that's as far as I'm going to go.
You know how it is, man. Everything in Sonic has its fans. It doesn't matter how obscure it is. It don't matter how much the popular opinion is to dislike it. There's always at least a few people out there who love the thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know? And the Deadly Six are no exception. I can point to a few people who are big fans of them, so...
And they all seemed very happy with their appearances in IDW, so I'm glad I made them happy.
Yes. And, yeah. Actually fairly level-headed people, too, you know? That's refreshing. Here's one from Pen! In the Archie comics, did the super form get stronger when thousands of emeralds fused into 7 in the Harmony Saga?
No, and I'm having flashbacks to the angry debates on the old form. But infinite power plus infinite power makes infinite power. You can't scale higher than that. Infinity plus infinity is, you can't have double infinity. It's infinite.
Tell that to the elementary school kids who have double infinity times 1,000. Come on, Ian.
I can't really speak back to them. They nuke me. They got double infinity times 1,000 power, man.
Oh.
How can you compete with that?
Yeah, well, I have infinity plus 1.
Well, theirs is double times 1,000. That's way more than 1. Simple math, Kyle. Come on.
I know. Well, whatever. Infinite's dead anyway.
Is he?
Don't make me say anything that will get Infinite fans mad at me.
Oh, that's the beehive you're going to stray away from?
Well, I mean, I do edit the show, so I can just edit out whatever. And we got a question from Tayulenin SFD. So, Chaos gets bigger and grander with each Chaos Emerald. What if there were more than 7 emeralds? Would he be able to absorb 8 emeralds or more and get even bigger? Doesn't matter where the extra emeralds come from, just curious.
More perfect your chaos.
More power.
I mean, if there is any trend to Chaos's transformations, is that he gets, I don't want to say more complex, because, you know, Fish Chaos Chaos 4 was arguably more complex than Chaos 6, but Chaos 6 also had more limbs going on and more of an internal structure, and then Perfect Chaos is, you know, a head. It's a very big head on a neck, but that's about it. The rest of him is just everywhere. So I don't know what a more perfect or Chaos would look like. Would he maybe gain more concrete of a form? Would he just become like this giant floating ball of doom and teeth? Would he just turn into a giant Chow a la the Marshmallow Man out of Ghostbusters? I kind of like that last one best for the visual.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Everybody keep your mind blank. Bakuba.
Uh-oh, now you've done it.
Don't cross the rings.
Maybe he'd become the final bosses from Smash Brothers Ultimate's story mode thing. Just a big ball of something.
Because now I imagine the giant Chow and like in the emo dot, you got the 8 emeralds just whirling around in some kind of atom-esque helix in this radiant light.
Yeah.
Each swipe of light coming out of this thing, nuking entire city blocks.
Yeah.
Roaring infant. And as Resident Evil 8 proved, giant infants can be terrifying. So,
well, I mean, just look at Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
yeah.
That's frightening too. Alrighty. Here's a question from Liam D. I've recently had an interest in Jeffrey St. John. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. But anyway, if you did, how was it writing him? I don't know if you did. I haven't read Archie because I'm English.
My time with Jeffrey was brief overall. He had kind of sort of been written out of the narrative about the time I came on the book. And then when we were putting together the Archie's Who's Who encyclopedia, going through his entire backstory and trying to rationalize his motivation between editors and writers and storylines is like, none of this really fits. None of this syncs. It's wildly different interpretations, and there's a lot of skullduggery for the sake of skullduggery. It's not even clandestine. It's just being mysterious for mysterious' sake. And when putting it all together, I'm like, wait, we could do a storyline where he was a sleeper agent for Ixis Nagas, and it could fit. You have to do a little bit of retconning, which we discussed at length on the last episode, but it could fit, and this could bring in a new dynamic to his character. And honestly, the most interesting Jeffrey ever was when he was a rival to Sonic. So it achieved a lot of goals. It got him back in an antagonistic state. It pulled together a lot of disparate parts and put them together. It made him a threat again, and it gave him a character arc to be redeemed, I guess, for a second time, but in a more concentrated arc. And we got as far as the face turn initially, but then Nagas took him over, and we never got to wrap up that arc because the book kind of got killed. So, but it was a controversial take on the character. I ain't gonna argue that for sure. Some Jeffrey fans didn't like it. They didn't like such a major change to his motivations and backstory, which I get. There were other folks who really liked it because it gave him a clearer motivation and got him back to basics and kind of reinvigorated the character for them. So I'd say it was overall a decent enough run with him. I just wish we could have finished his arc.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some thoughts about Jeffrey, but I will leave those for later. We'll talk about that later, maybe. Maybe not. So, I mean, he seemed kind of cool, but then he just kind of sat there and spun his wheels for years. Like a lot of things in early Archie. Here's a question from Miguel. What would it take for Sega to reconsider its approach to Shadow? I'm sure you're tired and frustrated by this line of questioning, but I'm just really curious as to why he's being directed to be so one-noted. I could see his character motivation being more akin to Knuckles in that he made an unbreakable vow and lives with it on a daily basis. His methods are messy, but this gives him some breathing room, so to speak, in regards to the relationships he finds himself in.
I can't really speak to the crux of the question at this point, which is frustrating for you, I'm sure. But I've really said all I can say on the matter at this point, and we'll just have to see how things play out in the future. Miguel has a question for you, Kyle.
Well, hold on.
No. Let's move on.
I was going to say there's a reason why I've renamed the Sonic channel in the BumbleKast Discord to Shadow. So, anyway, let's carry on.
Oh, you irascible scamp. Anyway, Miguel asks you, Kyle, what's your favorite voice that Ian acts out? Are there any voices that you'd like to see him give a shot, like, say, Amy? Don't you dare.
I don't know. Your big impression is pretty fun. I mean, you seem to kind of embody Starline's voice. It's kind of surprising and freaky how you meld into that one so well. But it works. I like it. Yeah, I'll say that. As for any voices I'd like to see you give a shot, I don't know. Cream.
I was going to say, nothing falsetto. I can't get into that range anymore.
And then I went with the most falsetto of all. Or Sir Connery. There we go. Good one from the chat. There we go.
Well, Sir Connery's just a bad Sean Connery accent then, isn't it?
Yep.
I say to thee, nay.
Terrible. Terrible.
Absolutely god awful.
I love it. Your Eggman is pretty good.
Eh,
I mean, you're no Mike Pollock, but nobody's Mike Pollock. But
no.
you do pretty good. You do pretty good, Eggman.
I feel like I could maybe hit a little closer to the mark, but it would require, one, a great deal of practice, and two, a great deal of energy just to match what he's able to produce seemingly without effort.
Yeah.
So if we want to do a show, then I can't do a Mike Pollock because that's going to take every ounce of gusto that I have.
Yes. Yeah, no. That's too much. That's too much. You cannot even hope to match Mike Pollock. There's
even his low-key conversational Eggman has this chord to it, this underlying energy that is like controlling the flow of a water hose. It's like, he can go bombastic at any moment, but he's just keeping the throttle down. And it's like, how do you do that, man?
I don't know.
I can hear it. I can hear how he's doing it, but I can't replicate.
Yeah. He's a freaking master, man. Oh yeah, your Silver impression is pretty funny. All right. We got one last question before we take a break, and it's from Tortugas Guerreras 9000. That's a lot of Tortugas Guerreras.
It sounds like a band name.
So imagine we live in an alternate timeline where the famous character Sonic is not a hedgehog, but a clown. Just this high-speed, out-of-control clown. And so are his friends. Tangle the Clown, Bake the Clown, Shadow the Clown, SPL the Clown, all the rest. Go ahead and have fun. What would be different with this being the case? And what would your idea be for the current story arc for Sonic the Clown and his particularly clowny friends? Well, I have an idea. It would be exactly the same. Nothing different. Nothing changed.
I'm just cracking up at the idea of the shoes still making squeaky noises at high speed. So it's like...
Terrible.
Got a speed, Keed!
What is that sound? It sounds like Kazooie from Banjo-Kazooie.
There's your voices for you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Go.
Yeah.
I think Kazooie's got more of a...
Yeah, there we go.
We already answered that question. So, let's see. Keep Eggman virtually the same, but make him full on like ringleader. Give him the top hat, give him the tails, the coattails, let me specify. And he's trying to wrangle all these clowns for his personal circus. But they're clowns. They just want to clown around. So that's why Sonic the Clown is fighting evil ringmaster Ringman. There we go, Ringman. To save all of his friends. And maybe there's circus animals that you have to rescue. Maybe they're all balloon animals, just for something a little different.
This is sounding like it's becoming Animaniacs.
I could see them doing a parody of this kind, yeah.
Yeah.
Shadow's like the most emo goth clown you get. He's a mime, I guess.
I don't know if that's how that works, but all right.
Well, what is a mime if not a clown removed of all color and joy? I really shouldn't insult mimes. They're going to send a hitman, and I'll never hear him coming.
You just alienated all of mimes in our audience. How dare you?
Well, don't worry. We won't hear from them.
God, terrible. Well, while we keep our eyes out for mimes, I guess we'll take a break, and then we'll come back with more BumbleKast. We're back, and we got a question from Ducky L. This one is for the ages. Who does Metal Sonic hate more, Sonic or himself?
Eggman had to put in a specific bit of code to stop him from thinking about that, because if he hates Sonic, then he hates himself, because he is the one true Sonic. But if he hates himself, then why is he after Sonic? It makes no sense. He has to hate Sonic to go after Sonic, but he's the one true Sonic, and system error, reboot.
And here's a question from Moby M. I understand that the whole other dimension versus future thing in oh 06 and Rush is one of those things where you just got to take a breath and say, everything is canon. But it's something that's irked me for a while now, so I'm curious. If Sega were to give you the creative control to write an explanation for Blaze being in the future of 06, Silver reintroducing himself in Sonic Rivals, yet still remembering the Iblis future according to mandates, everyone remembering Crisis City and Generations, despite 06 being erased from history, and all that messy stuff, what would you explain it with? Your headcanons are much appreciated. Thanks.
Here's the thing. Working on something else, I actually did get a straight answer, and it was frustratingly simple. And it's like, that works. Okay. No, I can't get into it. That's all private work stuff, but maybe it'll come to light eventually. But there is an answer, and it works, and I kind of feel dumb for not thinking of it. But it's there. So I guess the real question I can tackle here is, why does anyone remember Crisis City? And you could maybe say it's like an echo, a residual memory just from the nature of time collapsing around Solaris. I mean, the time travel was already pretty darn messy, so maybe it's kind of like a bad dream that they kind of remember. It's a sense of deja vu. That would be the easiest workaround I can think of.
It was me files all along. Here's a question from Great Song 1. Has there ever been at least one song from the Sonic franchise that you have or wanted to just sit up and dance to, regardless if you're alone or in public? I once danced alone to Work It Out from Sonic R in the Sonic Adventure 2 version of Unknown from ME.
I mean, I'd use the Sonic R soundtrack to go jogging to, and it's like you have to focus on, actually jogging and not just grooving out, because with my lack of coordination, I'm going to go crashing off into the trees. But also trying to keep pace with that beat is guaranteed to get your stamina up, because I'm getting tired just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But like all of, like 99.9% of all Sonic tracks are groovable too, in some form of another, whether it's like straight up dancing or just like swaying to, like, if you can listen to Empire City Hub Day and not kind of do a saunter dance to it, you've got stronger willpower than I do. That's just, I love that song so much, man. Like I have that on my playlist when I go for my walks, and I know that I'm dancing to it again when I start getting funny looks by people I'm passing by. It's like, stop it. Just one foot in front of the other. Nope, can't do it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the songs for Rouge's stages in Sonic Adventure 2 were pretty fun. Pretty good. I like them a lot. Geez, what's the name of the last level? Her last level in that game? It's Mad Space. There we go.
Yeah.
Mad Space. Yeah, Mad Space is very groovable. Very good.
Okay, I've got one you can't dance to.
Okay.
Presumably. U.S. Dr. Eggman boss theme from Sonic CD.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you could.
Unless you go like full thrash core with
Some
it.
weird headbang thing going on, yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'm wrong. Every Sonic track is danceable.
I hate that song, though. I really...
Well, clearly, you're not headbanging enough to it.
I know. Song freaked me out as a kid. Do not want. I much prefer the Japanese version of that particular track. Let's see. I mean, like, a jungle stage in Sonic 1 for Master System Game Gear. It's like, that's surprisingly a good jam right there. I'm being told we're ignoring the Frontiers themes. I mean, Vandalize is all right. Sure.
Yeah. We haven't really heard a ton of pure and clear tracks from that, so.
Right.
I mean, give it time. It's a Sonic game. That means it's going to be great.
Yeah. As long as it's not another Sonic Chronicles situation.
Well, that's where they took old Sonic music and made it bad.
Well,
that's different.
That's where they ran out of time, apparently, and also had to gut the entire intended soundtrack, and we're under a time crunch to redo it. So, yeah. Here's one from Stacy. In one of the IDW comics, Amy mentions that Sonic practically raised Tails. Roughly how long have Sonic and Tails known each other in the IDW canon? And how old was Tails for Amy to make this kind of comment on their relationship? I absolutely love the brotherhood bond between Sonic and Tails and love how it's portrayed in the comics.
I wouldn't take that line too literally. It's more that Sonic was just that influential on Tails. Especially because the time flow from classic to modern is questionable at best.
How long have they known each other? I don't know. Could be a few weeks, could be a few months. Either way, though,
Since
it's less
Sonic
than a year
2.
because Sonic's still 15.
Except for the birthday and the 6 months in prison.
Details. Pff, he's still 15.
I mean, you're right. They're still the same age, but...
Years are very slow on Sonic's world. Anyway, did you have more to add to that?
No, it's better if I don't.
Here's a question from Jamstar. If Mighty and Ray are labeled as classic characters only, does that mean the Chaotix's classic counterparts aren't allowed to appear, as we've only seen them in modern continuity for some time now?
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work. For a time, Chaotix wasn't considered part of the canon, and that Heroes and modern Chaotix were the iteration of them. You know, this was the Chaotix now. And now Chaotix, the game, is back in the mix. So, if classic Chaotix come back, I would guess that they would be retroactively modeled after their modern versions, which I'm not brokenhearted over the idea, because we didn't really have a ton of concrete going on with the classic Chaotix. So it's that, and the classic stuff is usually lighter on story and characterization in general anyway. So that I can see happening and being okay with. Or they may just not appear again. You know, they may just opt not to use those designs, and you know, it's just understood that there were classic characters at some point and we're just focusing on modern. I don't know.
Classic Vector, but he's redesigned to be a blues brother.
I'm on a mission from God.
Yep, it's true. Apparently he is. Here's a question from J. Sean B. How well do you think the Death Egg and the Egg Fleet in its entirety would fare in a fight against the Death Star in the Empire, considering all the warships and his army of Death Egg robots?
We don't have a very clear idea on the destructive capabilities of the Egg Fleet, and especially the Death Egg. Like, the best we have is that it might have had the power to, you know, reactivate the dormant parts of Lava Reef with just a flash of its eye beams? ? We just don't know what it does, really. On the other hand, the fully operational Death Star has the capability to blow up an entire freaking planet, and the Death Egg is not a planet. It is a teeny tiny space station in comparison. I mean, I don't think we're going to confuse it for a moon with a mustache, you know?
I'm being reminded that the Death Egg blew up a solar system in Sonic Battle.
Yeah, that was Battle's Death Egg, and
that's just that's just some weirdness.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness in Battle. That one you kind of have to almost cherry pick what you want to believe out of that one. But regardless, I would imagine that the Imperial fleet, which has the ability to occupy entire star systems, the Egg fleet has trouble controlling a planet. That alone would give them abilities to conquer the Egg fleet. But once the Death Star comes into position and all them Kyber crystals are fired up, that's it. That's when Eggman's going to witness the full power of this fully operational battle station.
Yeah. Or it could just be after Rise of Skywalker, and all of a sudden it's just a giant fleet of nothing but giant Star Destroyers. And yeah. I think pretty much everybody rolls over after that one. But let's not think about that one too hard. Here's a question from Jess. Recently, I came across a cute fan headcanon that suggested that with his blue eyes, yellowish fur, and youthful and positive personality, that Tails may somewhat remind Shadow of Maria. This piqued my interest and made me wonder, what would the dynamic between these two be? Does Shadow have a soft spot for the kid? They seem to have a mutual respect for each other, but it's a shame they hardly ever interact. What are your thoughts?
From my understanding, the present characterizations have Tails being a little afraid of Shadow, just kind of wary around him, and Shadow not really thinking much of Tails in general. Just, oh, he's there. Fine. And if Tails says anything or does anything, it's like, why is this thing talking to me? Go away. Which
I don't know if I like that.
Is what it is.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Oh, I do.
Not good. I don't feel good about it.
But I also have to be mindful not to bite the hand that feeds here on this public and very easily replicable audio. So,
it's kind of like, it reminds me though that Tails and Knuckles don't really interact all that much, and they're on the same team, even though there's no teams in Sonic, but still.
When brainstorming the Tails tubes, I was like, okay, Tails and Knuckles, how do they even interact?
Yeah, that's a good point.
What's the common denominator between them? Sonic.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
We don't want to talk about Sonic. We've talked about Sonic. It's Tails and Knuckles. What do you do? I think that was part of what Tyson riffed on in his script to great effect.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard because it's like, there's so many of these characters. There's so many characters in the Sonic universe, but so many of them have just never interacted with each other. It's annoying.
Like between Knuckles and Tails, I think Knuckles, appreciates Tails for what he can do, and just doesn't really think of palling around with him much because he is such a loner. But if Tails says, "Hey, we need to do a thing," he's going to take that at face value more readily than he would with Sonic. And likewise, Tails knows what Knuckles is capable of, and at this point has gotten over the whole, oh, he's that dude who punked Sonic and took the emeralds. He's actually one of our friends, and he's a very capable one. I know I can rely on him. So there's a degree of mutual trust between them, I guess.
Right. Here's a question from Trapped Ham. Just speculation, but is there any connection between Bunny Rabbit and Vanilla and Cream other than being rabbits?
I had kind of floated the idea of having this running gag that all the rabbit characters were like somehow distantly related. Like it's some kind of tangled family tree that goes on for miles and nobody's quite sure where it started or where it ends. So it's just kind of like, oh, yeah, they're cousins.
Well, we already had that, though, with all the echidnas, so glad you didn't go that way.
Well, there wouldn't be, like, any serious matrimonial connections there.
Okay. It's just a thing. It's just kind of mentioned in passing.
It'd be played for a laugh.
Yes, it's just mentioned in passing. You're not going to, like, dedicate an entire page to showing a bunch of blank spots on a family tree. Right?
Now, then again, that might be one of those jokes that's, kind of funny on the panel, and then the more you think about it, the more problems it causes. So we may not have committed to that bit. I don't know. Couldn't really figure that out by the time the book got killed.
Kind of like Hydrocity versus Hydro City, huh?
Yeah.
I like that. I don't care. It's dumb. It doesn't make any sense for them to be arguing about it. But I still like it anyway. Here's one from Plebus Bloobus. What a great name. What are the chances of there being a character appearing that is a fan of Tails the way Starline is with Eggman?
Not impossible. I mean, at this point, Sonic is a world-renowned hero, and by extension, I would figure Tails is very well known. I mean, he is Sonic's right hand half the time, his partner in heroics. So having a creepy, clingy fanboy is not outside of the realm of possibility. I don't know if I want to do that to Tails, though. He's a good boy.
He doesn't deserve that.
Unless it could be used as kind of a antithetical comparative story to Starline, where, you have someone who's worrisomely devoted to the ideal of someone, and they are steered into a path of understanding and growth so that they can become their own person, maybe.
Maybe Tails has a fan club, and they're all nice, well-adjusted people.
Wouldn't that be nice? Nice thing for the nice boy.
Yeah, this is a Sonic universe, though. That would never happen. Here's one from Samsung Gone. Are Knuckles and Julie Sue related since they're cousins? Isn't it weird for them to be in a relationship?
And here we go back to the cousin thing. So, yes, they are related, and it's complicated. Because on Julie Sue's side, she's, 5? It's been a long time since I looked at that family tree. She's like 5 generations removed from the shared ancestors, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And
Something
on
like
Knuckles'
that.
side, he's removed by like 17 or 18 or more. So genetically speaking, they're well within the safety range.
It's weird.
It's an unnecessary connection in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, Julie Sue is a strong enough character that she doesn't need to be validated by being part of the grand blood feud. I really didn't like that connection myself, but it's there. So, meh.
And I really hate how many blank spots are in that freaking family wreath. It's just frustrating. Here's one from Monkey. Do you think Surge and Fleetway Supersonic would be friends?
Yeah. You would have Surge going after Fleetway Sonic to kick his ass. He would get stressed, turned into Supersonic, and say, I'm going to wreck everything. And Surge would go, wait. Sorry? Destroy everything? Even your friends? Everything you've built up? Yeah, because I'm Supersonic and I'm crazy. And she'd be like, hey, let's make some crazy mayhem. And then they would just be BFFs and destruction. She's like, I like you way better like this.
Yeah. Yeah, but then...
You gotta teach me how to do that swirly eye thing, man.
Yeah, but then the supersonic power wears off, and it's like, oh, you're no fun now.
She starts stalking Sonic, slapping around. Bring it back. I'm not going to kill you because I want him back. Bring him back.
Here's a question from Lord Aku. Ian, I know of your hatred for Sonic 06, one I personally don't share, but I was wondering what with Project 06 and some mild resurgence of love for what could have been for the game, do you think Sega overreacted with how they treated future Sonic games because of 06? A lot of good ideas that came about because of Sonic 06, or were already ideas in games before, just got thrown into the bin forever because of the final version of the game. Plus, Mephiles is just cool. Wish he could come back.
Number 1, good on you for being named for the Dark Master, Lord Aku. Rest in peace, Mako. We were robbed of your genius. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't hate 06 because I feel sorry for it more than anything. It's not finished.
It has too much potential, and yeah, that's really, it's just in a very unfinished state, and it's kind of sad.
And that's not, a knock against the dev team. They were rushed to get it out the door by holiday. That's not their fault. They met the criteria that they were told to meet and, suffered all the flack for it. They clearly had a grand vision in mind, and it just couldn't be realized. And that's too bad. Had they been able to do what they wanted to do with it, we probably would be in a very different timeline. And it would have probably been the new foundation for the series like they intended it to be. As it is, I think it is nigh unplayable. It's not fun to play. I have my own critiques of it, but I'm not going to say I hate it. I have some fond memories of it. It's of the game breaking in hilarious ways, but there's still fond memories of it. So it gets a bad rap, and the apologists who can find fun in it, who take the way it's structured as a challenge, I'm glad you can find joy in that. I'm not going to try to take that away from anybody. And Project 06, from what little I've seen around, is incredibly ambitious and a testament to the passion of the Sonic fandom. Most other series, if a game has a dud, they're like, move on. We're done with it. We shall never speak of this again, except to ridicule it. Like, how many times has Zelda CDI been brought up to be mocked?
But, yeah, except someone remade that and actually made it playable too.
Really? They did?
Yes, but they used all the assets from the original game, so they didn't have to like redraw it. But yeah, there is a playable. There are playable versions of at least the 2 side scrollers, and they're actually pretty fun, and they got good soundtracks. Of course, I'm going to bring up the soundtrack, but still, it's surprising. They're very different from normal Zelda music, but pretty funky, pretty good. So.
All right, well, I rescind my comparison then. Video game fans are just cool people in general.
Yes.
Oh, in terms of overreaction, yes and no. I mean, the idea of going for such big, grand experiments every game is an incredible drain on time and resources, and doing something that's a little more focused and directed, I think, is not necessarily the wrong idea. I kind of wish that there was less experimentation on the formula afterwards. You found something that worked, use that core and just build upon it rather than tinker with it and put in new gimmicks that distract from it. Like, Unleashed is a solid game engine.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone can debate that.
Unleashed, they had a good foundation going, and then they built on it with colors a bit, and then Generations, and then they just changed everything up with Lost World. It's like, okay.
Like, here's that with Unleashed, folks complained that the Werehog stages took too long. They were too distracting from the regular Sonic stages. And the argument in the dev side of things is that, well, the Sonic side would just go too fast. You can't build multiple miles of these stages over and over again, which there's a lot of discussion to be had there. But you had a fun fighting game in the Werehog. So instead of dropping that entirely with colors, streamline it, maybe tuck it in a little bit on the corners, and make that the Knuckles campaign. And now that you have a proven concept for Sonic's gameplay, tinker with something else and bring us back Tails in some format, or do the SA2 route and bring back Mech Shooter, something. You had something good here, and now we have Wisps. And Wisps are fun, sure. I like their implementation in colors. I really like colors. I like it a whole lot.
Yeah, me too.
But it's just Sonic again. We could have branched out back towards the direction that we had with the adventure games and with 06. 06 is basically an adventure game without a Chow Garden, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So it's like, but that's not what you asked. Sorry. I think at the time, given the reception and everything that was going on with it, how they reacted to 06 made enough sense. I can't really fault them for going, okay, this was met with universal panning. We have to course correct.
I think ultimately it's seen as kind of an embarrassment.
Yeah. And that's, not necessarily a fair assessment, but it's understandable.
Right.
And we did get some great games after that. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they really did have some grand plans and big ambition for 06. That's really the main thing, is just the lost potential of what it could have been, and then versus what it ultimately is just, it's frustrating and it's disappointing, and I'm sure the developers were probably just anxious to get that thing out the door and then just forget about it and just move on. But yeah, it still feels like this sort of albatross over the franchise.
Yeah.
So,
which is unfortunately a stigma that the series deals with unfairly in general. It's like, okay, yeah,
right.
okay, 06 didn't stick the landing. That was in 2006. Sonic had a rough transition to 3D. We get it. Move on.
Yeah, except his transition to 3D happened 6 years beforehand. 7 years beforehand. 8 years beforehand, if you go by the Japanese release date. Yeah.
As for Mephiles, I feel like his true design is over-designed. His plot ultimately doesn't make much sense. But Dan Green's performance makes that character.
Mm-hmm.
It is so hammy you can carve it with a knife, and I love it.
Well, I mean, it's Dan Green. That's just kind of what he does. Thinks it's just how he lives his normal life, is on the level of cheese. And here's a question from Laura M. Does Sonic from Sonic X remember every friend, even human, etc.?
I don't see why not.
Yes. Specifically the Sonic from Sonic X. Yeah. He probably remembers everything.
I don't remember any kind of amnesia plot.
And it gives him nightmares every night. Nah, probably not. Here's a question from Ava M. A while ago, Evan Stanley said that the Sonic Universe issues that became the Silver Age were originally going to be about Uncle Chuck and Mutsky. Do you have any idea what it was or any information on it?
That sounds familiar, but that's Evan's pitch. That's her story to tell.
Ah, all right. Yeah, head on over to her Tumblr, I suppose. And our last question this episode comes to us courtesy of Metal Skulkbane. It finally happened. Question so stupid, Kyle dies from laughter. And Ian snaps. All those ungrateful fans who took everything away from him will feel his loss and despair. Sega and IDW, they try to stop him. But Ian sends Aaliyah to take care of them, wielding a toy replica of the Pico Pico hammer and a real gun. With no one to stop him, Ian giggles to himself, "Let's go," and starts his master plan. Make the worst Sonic story possible, so bad that it will surely ruin the franchise forever. What would this story be about? And knowing Sonic fans, how long before some apologists demand a sequel?
Okay, so hear me out. Sonic, but with robot zombies.
Aha! That would do it. That would definitely kill the franchise.
Absolutely incompatible. It would drag on forever. It would be tiresome and predictable. No one would love it. It would end the book immediately. It would end the franchise.
Yes.
Traumatize the children.
You would absolutely just destroy everything. Nothing would be left. Sega just gone. Just instant explosion. Just no more Sega. And it would be like some sort of Zombot?
Possibly. Maybe. But I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't want to give people time to prepare a countermeasure.
It's true. Well, I guess while you stew on that plan, let's go ahead and thank all the lovely people who make this show possible.
Yes, big thank you to the folks over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members who make all of this nonsense profitable for us. Big thank you to Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Robotnik Holmes, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Torchbound, Mike B., Dave M., Koopling Crew 128, Salute Your Cat, Andrew D., J. Frost, Duas Diz, Den, Hero of Light 13, Professor Scruffy Matt, Ryan D., Chris A., Sony Noni, John M., Jib, Don B., Yami M., Lee H.K., Lisa M., Fiona M., Chevelle, Invade Turbo Tuna, Sonic, Ben Wolfsbane, Keeper of Monsters, Axis, Tick, Scurvy Pirate, Hog, Xander Ernie the Painter, Final Neo, Jonathan Dobbs just really likes Princess Sally. The name is X, Justin S., Solaire Stain, Nimric, Godzilla, Alex GS, Arc Fighter, Daddler, the Della, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Ava, Arctic, Pedanti Cat, Dove, Quaggle Gaggle, Professor Rybe, Red the Supernamic, Nondol, Cameron H., Chad, Les, Jennifer H., Justin Mountain, Soul, Sapphire, Scarletta, Alphamon or Yukon, Joshua S., Omega Watt, Finest Cacophony, Preston M., Starlight Sec, Jolene B., Sonic 84, Noah S., Kojiro, Highwind, Dapper Shinx, Supersonic Fan, Awesome Cakester, Radry, Chase, L, Ty, H, Callum Q, Twilord, Red Wolf, Nebius, Cosmic Cooking Hunter 77, and Tails, Roosevelt, Maddie H, The Disgayan, KJB, John the Real Waluigi, N, Zephyr, Wild 48, Mox T Ranger, The Marble Gardener, Owen BD, Vlad of the Stars, Chaos Sonic 1, Miles the Prower, Navarre, Exidel, Agent Kaz, Force Sonic Fan, Puppy the Scholar, Rhythm Raccoon, Miggy Sawdust, Pig Dan 20, Ty Cyan, Lewis J, Michael P, Delta God 77, Curly Q's, Ozjam, Shimmy M, Angela V, Fang the Werehog, Caswell, Mr. Murderbird, the Giant Murdering Bird, Stupid Ugly, Triforce Riku, Classic Sonic Nova Polyduo, Chaos Shadow, Timon B, Thievius, Smiley 21, The Flower Garden, Sammy S, Lacey M, Unlikely Veronica Phi, Sterling Sonic, They Made a Vow, Their Mother Will Be Found, Jube Conga, Shakira Law, Rocket Man, Windskull, Dolontai, Sky the Desu, Supernova, Endabanda, Superior Pizza, Sonic Patch, Tetsunai, Thigolf, Crowbo, Sonic Mania 2099, Hadronis, Nils, FNS Draws, Alex Arts here, Zay Cartoonist, Verdragon 5, The Internet Person, Scourge Time, Peter M, Buttered Noodles, Miles Prower D, Frost the White Lion, Danny the Light, Ryuko Xian, Metamode, Wheels 282, Hedgehog, and Jamal S.
All right. Dang. That list, yet again, just keeps growing. Man.
It do. That's going to wrap us up. Kyle, get out of here. Go on your vacation.
Fine.
And, you and everybody else listening, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
See you in a while. And here's a question from Laura M. How dare you? You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
How did I accidentally open Bing? What in the world?
On what?
I don't know. I just clicked to wake up the mouse, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you want to use Internet Explorer or whatever it is now?
Oh,
It's like,
Edge? No. Oh, it's Microsoft. It's Windows, man.
Oh, it is on my taskbar. Oh, okay. Huh.
Okay, yeah.
I thought I got rid of that. Oh, well.
Well, knowing Windows, it probably stuffed it back on there.
Yeah.
Go figure. We're talking about clowns, and then Bing opens. The mimes broke into your house and put Bing on the taskbar. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Look out, he has a gun! Or a banana. I'm not quite sure yet.